Welcome back to Love at Any Age, where dating doesn't come with an expiration date. I am Laurie Gerber, your host. I'm a dating coach, a truth teller, and a proud believer that love after 50 can be even better than it ever has been before. So if you've ever thought maybe love just isn't in the cards for me, this episode is for you. Because today we're talking about the invisible blockers that make dating sometimes feel like Groundhog's Day. You just keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And we're going to start clearing up the obstacles. I'm going to introduce you to something called the Love Detox. So if you're feeling a little bit like you need some detoxification, this one's for you. You're going to hear about a client who just kept picking jerks. You know the type and what changed everything for her. You're going to hear about how old heartbreaks and hidden beliefs are secretly sabotaging new relationships, right? The baggage. If only it was truly in the past, it wouldn't keep showing up again and again. And I'm going to walk you through the six steps of the love detox so you can finally start believing in love again with the path in front of you truly clear. All right, let's dive into it. It's too late for me. The big lie many of you are telling yourself. This is the sound I hear from so many women over 50. It's a sigh, it's a whine, it's too late. I've tried everything. I've tried this and that. It didn't work. I'm too old. Men my age just want younger. I'm in the wrong geographical location. It's something. And I want to bust through all those lies right now. The truth is, it is not too late. You are not in the wrong place. You are just probably too weighed down by something, an old story that you have been dragging around into your current life and onto dates with you. Here's the coaching. Every belief you carry with you about love is either opening doors or slamming them shut. So let's start writing. Let's start the coaching. Grab a pen. I want you to write down your beliefs about dating after 50. Just write down whatever pops into your mind. I gave you a nice list just there before. What's on your list? Is it your age? Is it your body? Is it your geographical location? Is it your exhaustion? Is it distraction of other people who need your help and attention right now? What is stopping you? And ask yourself, where did that belief come from? Did somebody tell it to you? Did somebody tell you you're too old or you're not the right body type? Did you observe it somewhere and pick it up as a truth? It did come from somewhere. Your family of origin, your culture, your friends, maybe even the internet or an influencer. I want you to find its origins because I'm going to question every belief you have that is preventing you from having love, and I'm going to try to knock it down. I want to figure out what's really in the way because there's a lot of BS. There's a lot of distraction that is getting in your way of actually seeing the one or two things that really are in the way and need your attention and need your help. So let's talk about what's really in the way. Patterns don't start on their own. They come from old heartbreaks, wounds that never got fully cleaned out. So specifically, here's where they come from. First, your lineage, literal issues in your lineage. Everybody has a lineage. Everybody has parents, grandparents, great grandparents from whence you came, the DNA, the genetics, the epigenetics from whence you came. So if you found that your mother had a particular issue in love, like she kept picking addicts or fixer uppers, you might be doing the same, or you might have gone in the other direction and avoided love altogether. So patterns like single motherhood, staying with an addict, doing the fixer-upper routine, avoiding love, those types of patterns are very rarely original thoughts. They are usually, unbeknownst to us, repeating a pattern in our lineage or reacting to a pattern in our lineage. We also have certain traits that mess us up in relationships, like being self-centered or being martyrs and not sticking up for ourselves, or being mean or harsh. Those traits, domineering, people pleasing, the whole gamut, those also come from your lineage and they repeat unless you do the exploration to see what those are. And then, in honor of your lineage, break your lineage. The second place these heartbreaks and wounds come from are issues from past relationships. Everyone has a relationship history. And in that relationship history, we have a 3H pattern. If you don't know what a 3H pattern is, go and listen to the last episode. I break it down. There's your head, your heart, and your hoo-ha. These are the three voters in all of us that have something to say about who we love and how we love. What's sensible, what feels good, and what turns us on. Okay, so everyone has a relationship history. And as I talked about in our last episode, you have unresolved stuff, right? Incidents from these past relationships based on which of the H's you sold out on. Did you pick someone that just wasn't sensible, or someone you really couldn't trust, or someone you weren't that attracted to, or you were so attracted to that you were blinded by other things? So there might be those unresolved things. Could be from past love, could also be from other things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there is a magic in going back to your love history, your relationship history, and seeing what is actually unresolved in those past relationships. What's the pattern? We talked about that last time, but also what are the unresolved incidents that need light shed on them so that you can learn from them instead of still be a victim of them and hurt by them? So you're going to need to do a relationship history, and I'll walk you through that. The third thing is those issues or incidents from your history that don't have to do necessarily with love. We call them haunting incidents in the Handel method. They could be something that happened in your family of origin, something that happened with a friend or a community member, just something that you're not over, something that sticks with you. And I have a lot of clients who come to me after years of therapy, years of different modalities, everything from yoga to meditation to psychedelics to you name it. And there's still one haunting incident or two in their lives that they have not faced, they have not addressed, they have not fixed or reinterpreted in their lives, and it's still making them feel like they don't deserve a great love. That's the third thing. And what we do in the method that I teach in the coaching that I do is what's called a haunt unraveling, where we understand it differently. I'll come back to that. The fourth is a heartbreak you're still not over, possibly a recent relationship or a divorce, so that you're literally still in an active, either imaginary or in real life relationship with somebody that prevents you from being able to list the job as your life partner to the open market. Take it. So nobody is going to apply for that position if it is already energetically or actually taken. So that's the fourth major obstacle I see. Now, understandably, with all of this in the background going on for us, we are afraid to try at love again. Of course you are. Caution and fear, they're not wisdom, they're protection. And I get that. You're protecting yourself from dealing with all of those things, from those things coming up, from having to face those things, and then from the risk that it is to believe in love again. So you've been right to protect yourself. But what if you could learn to actually instead trust yourself and start to trust other people so love could be possible? What if you could learn to feel safe in love? What if you could unlearn the bad messages you received and switch your beliefs, switch to new beliefs that are more empowering and more pro love, more favorable to you dating, having fun, and finding your person? I have seen this over and over again. People change their minds. So I want to get into literally what you should do if you recognize yourself in one of the four things that I listed. If you know you're stuck, I want to tell you some stories of my own life, of my clients' life who got unstuck from the same things to give you hope and to give you those first steps that you can take. All right. So recall the first one I mentioned. That is lineage, issues in your family, patterns in your family. If you do not know the issues in your lineage, they are destined to repeat. Mic drop, right? That is just the bold, sad, crazy truth that I just keep learning again and again from working with my clients. If you don't know the lineage issues, you will not be able to stop them from repeating. You'll not know when, but they're coming for you. So ask yourself, what do you know about your parents? What do you know about your grandparents and their issues in love and dating? And how are those issues showing up in you? Are they showing up same, slight variation, or reaction to? I want you to start connecting the dots. You are not alone. These are not original problems that you came up with. These are things that you come by honestly from your genetics and your epigenetics. So if you don't know what happened to your parents or your grandparents in love, I want you to start to find out. And I will post a list of questions that you can start to ask. If your parents aren't alive, you can ask other people. your siblings or people who knew them, I want you to start to get curious about your parents' history. Okay, so I'm going to leave you some questions in the show notes. Now, here's what you're going to find out when you start to hunt down your history. Your issues are not your own, they are not original. You're actually managing someone else's shit. You are playing out someone else's issues. So, I mean, for my own story, I watched my parents. I've watched their marriage. It was not a particularly affectionate one. They were very effective co-parents. They grew to be great friends. I observed them being great friends, and they treated their marriage much like a business. In other words, they wanted it to run well. They wanted to stay together for the kids. They wanted to make it work and they wanted it to run well. And so that's what I thought marriage was. I thought marriage was based on similar values, wanting to have a family life and a sort of a partnership. Okay. So what is it for you? What does marriage look like for you? Maybe you observed your parents seeking the love of someone who couldn't give it. Maybe you're trying to resolve something in your family lineage about proving lovability. And so you keep picking dates and partners who can continue to prove to you that you're not lovable. And you can keep trying desperately, like maybe you tried with your parents and maybe they tried with their parents or their partners. So you can see this is another example of how lineage repeats. So I want you to take a minute again with your pad and pen or your phone and your fingers and start asking yourself, what did I observe in my parents' relationship or relationships? How about my grandparents? What worked for them? What didn't work for them? Now, I never questioned my parents' marriage. I always thought that's what marriage was. And I even thought it was a pretty good marriage because, of course, they stayed married. But when I got to my 30s and decided I no longer had to have sex with my husband, and my life coach, Lauren Handel Zander, said to me, are you sure you want to go in that direction? Because that means you're friends. That's not a marriage, that's a friendship. And, most men really need a sex life to feel good about their partnerships. Are you sure you want to do that to your marriage? I don't think it's going to go well. And I had this light bulb moment where I realized, you know what? I don't actually want to repeat what my parents did, which was a relatively sexless marriage after a certain point, a great friendship, but not what I would consider to be a sexual or romantic union. I decided I wanted different from that. I wanted better than that. And I realized I could. And that was very, very good news for my marriage. I think it saved my marriage and made my marriage much better. But it's also really good news for you because what it suggests is that you haven't actually thought about what you learned from your parents and what you experienced growing up around them and how you have repeated or reacted against it. You have not probably taken the opportunity to go, what do I want to create? What do I want to design for my life? And now I'm telling you from personal experience, it is possible. I continue to have regular sex with my husband, and now we're in our 50s. And that is new and very special and different for my lineage, and I'm really proud of it. In honor of the lineage, break the lineage. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is these hauntings. Okay, the hauntings I told you about. And hauntings could be with a past love, or they could be something from your family of origin. And I want to tell you TK's story because she was such a shining example of a woman who worked so hard to deal with her trauma from her past, so hard to remove the obstacles to believing in love for herself. And she had been through years of therapy. She had tried so many different courses and books and gurus and spiritual practices and psychedelics and all just really anything she could put her hands on to believe in love again. And she really had done so much. She looked beautiful. She was at the peak of health. Her profile was fabulous. She understood the power of her mind. She was really working on her self-talk. There were just so many things that she had figured out and understood that would help her. And in fact, she went on a lot of dates. She was able to get dates. She went on a lot of dates. She was a successful dater, but she was not finding that person who took really good care of her. She kept finding jerks, honestly. If she was attracted to them, they just wouldn't take that great care of her. They would kind of fall short in terms of the heart category and caring. So we finally drilled down to one of her most haunting incidents that happened to her in her adolescence, where she was the victim of abuse. And I won't go into her details. It's not really important. Many women have experienced some form of violation in their younger years or their young adulthood that they have not fully processed. And what we did was we went ahead and did fully process that experience once and for all. And I really suggest that if you think that those abuses are not still affecting you in your relationship to love and dating, you're wrong. You do need to face those. You do need to face what you made up about yourself and about the world and about men and about love and about desirability and about your own safety. What you made up about all those things based on something bad that happened to you when you were younger. And I'm not saying you can do this on your own. You should have professional support of a therapist or a coach, but you need to go back and unpack those so that those can become treasured parts of your history that made you the beautiful soul you are today and no longer the thing that is the obstacle to you believing in love or finding love. And you can start by just writing out the story, just by facing the memory, just by starting to break through the shame of whatever it is, you will start to actually feel better. And again, this could be a story from your marriage, from your divorce, from your childhood abuse. But you want to begin to face it by writing about it and then getting the right help to work through it. Flash forward, just so you know, TK found really very shortly after we did this work, TK found a lovely man who cherished her and treated her oh so well. Truly, it was a delight to see, what he would do for her birthday, what he would do for holidays, but more so just consistently over time, taking care of her heart in the way he communicated, the frequency of communication, the care he took about the things she requested of him, the level of communication, depth, truth telling. A real trust was finally built with a good man. And that gives me tremendous hope about what's possible for you, even if you have something that has really hurt you or brought you shame in your past. Now, I want to talk about being unresolved in a past relationship, perhaps a recent one, like your last love or your divorce if you're recently divorced. Some heartbreaks are just still not over. They're not in the past yet. And you're still kind of what I would call addicted to a person. In other words, you're still thinking about them a lot. They still rule your mind. They still take up a lot of headspace. You try not to, and you still do. All the way up to you're internet stalking them or physically stalking them or hoping to run into them or get back together with them. These are all signs that you are unresolved about a past relationship, that you need what I call a love detox, that you need to actually get over the person in order for that position, love of your life, to be open to a new person. Okay, if this is you, raise your hand, get ready to take some more notes. I'm going to give you the 6 steps to the love detox. Again, a beautiful handheld method for clearing the emotional residue so you can date fresh, no longer haunted, weighed down by that baggage. Okay, so we're freeing up the position for love of your life, next, last love of your life, with these elements of the love detox. Okay, there's 6 of them. The first one, just like in 12 steps, admit you have a problem. Admit that this is taking up more mental space than you wish it would, possibly even more physical space than you wish it would. Admit you have a problem. That's always the first step. Mostly, you've probably been justifying it, right? Not admitting it. So, number 2, clear the space. If you have reminders of this person, that's just going to trigger you. That's just going to make it harder. Remove triggers from the space. That means pictures. That means clothing. That means letters. That means tchotchkes, mementos, memorabilia, all reminders of the person and including text exchanges. Or, I mean, I just talked to one of my clients and said, we keep track of the dates that this client has. And they had kept all the dates, all the records of all the dates. So every time they'd go into the file, they'd see a recollection of the person that they broke up with, that broke their heart. So you really want to be meticulous, go through your day, notice all the places that are reminders and triggers, and start to remove them. If you are too sentimental or attached to burn the things or give them back or destroy them or give them away, bury them in a box in an attic or in a basement or in somebody else's home, right? You don't have to necessarily be destructive, but you need to get the reminders out of your space. Number 3, and this is so important and so hard for people, but so important if you want to date again, set a time limit for no communication. I would recommend 6 months or a year or forever. But the truth is, if you're co-parenting with that person, obviously you can't do that. You need to set communication boundaries. In other words, we will only communicate about logistics or the child. That would be the limit. But if you don't have to co-parent with the person, you really can say, I need 3 months, I need 6 months, I'll get back to you, just to buy yourself that time to heal, move on, think about what you really want, think about what you learned. Without that space, you're gonna keep getting drawn back in and the wound will keep getting reopened, making the time it takes to actually get over the person much greater and feeding the addiction, right? There is a certain dopamine hit we get from re-engaging with someone that we loved. And so we chase it, we want it. But the more we give into it, the stronger the addiction will become and the longer it will last. So a time limit for no communication, it's a sobriety thing. Fourth, get support. If you need a coach, reach out to me. If you can't afford a coach, reach out to me about group coaching. If you can't afford group coaching, get a friend to be your sponsor, the one who will listen to you when you're jonesing and tell you no, 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 or the one who will stop you when you're about to text the person or call the person or drive by their house. You need somebody tied to your leg to make sure that you're not going to go back to that thing that you are addicted to. It really does take a village and it takes the right kind of support. The fifth thing is you're going to have to get used to hearing your mind try to get you, try to convince you to go back to those familiar thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. You're going to have to start to hear what does it say when it wants me to text them? What does it say when I'm lonely? What does it say when I'm horny? What does it say? So you're going to have to start to master your inner dialogue, really hear what are the 3 or 4 loops you go on, so that you and your sponsor or your support system can support you when those thoughts come up and have some counter thoughts to help pipe those down. And the last thing is you have to ratchet up your self-care and your self-love. And I don't mean necessarily a big vacation or a massage. I mean time to yourself to think, time to yourself to write, friendship, nature, exercise, beauty treatments, haircuts, just whatever makes your heart sing, great hobbies that make you feel connected to yourself. Because usually, when we're in an addiction, when we're going for some cheap thrill or temporary alleviation of pain by chasing, it could be drugs, alcohol, food, or a person, it's that we don't want to face something inside of ourselves. So, slowing down, giving yourself that time to really listen to yourself and care for yourself is what you are desperate for. So, that's 6 in the Love Detox. Now, I've gone through these really quickly. Please, in the comments, ask me questions about these. Let's talk about it. Which step do you need most? Maybe you've done some, but not all, and you've noticed you're still stuck. I want to tell you about my sweet, sweet, sweet client named Beth, who in fact came to me desperate to find love, so sick of all the silliness she was being engaged in. And what I found when I interviewed her about all of her past relationships was none were exactly done. None were exactly brought to fruition or closed chapters. It's natural, right? We want to keep certain things brewing, keep them warm because, what if we get lonely? What if we need a plus one? What if we're horny? What if we just want to have a friend to go to the movies with? What if maybe they were the one, but they just weren't ready yet? Are these sounding familiar? Well, for each of her guys, she had some logic like that about why she wanted to sort of keep an open door. Some she was still sleeping with, some she was just texting with, some, were just sort of she had never really closed the loop. So we just went one by one through them. And for each one, we really talked about why the person was no longer good for her and in fact was blocking the position from being open. As long as she had those people entertaining her, distracting her, possibly someday being the one, she really couldn't be looking for the person to be the last love of her life. So we really gently, lovingly closed out those relationships with some very nice, well-worded texts. And lo and behold, she found the love of her life within about a month of that exercise. So I can't stress how important it is for you to do the work. It's actual work. It's written work. It's work with a coach or a professional therapist, actually wrapping up the loose ends from your history or your past loves. You will keep being thwarted by the obstacles if you don't do something about it, and therefore you won't really believe in love. And you might think you do, but you on some level won't. And unfortunately, then therefore you will not manifest what it is you want. When you believe in love again, right? When you do the work, and I gave you my examples and TK and Beth, but when you do the work, you'll notice when it's done, you act differently. You feel differently. You flirt. You say yes to new experiences. You open your heart and you don't settle for crumbs anymore. That's the main thing I see across the board when this work gets done is you just stop settling for someone that is not a 3H match. Belief in love, belief in yourself, it is the most seductive energy on earth. And that is why your next love story starts with your mindset and getting it clear. It's not about the apps yet. Don't worry, I'll talk about the apps until you can't stand it anymore. I have so much to say about the apps and your profiles, but not yet. We got to get the mindset right. We got to get you cleared out and ready, actually ready to believe in love again. But next week, we will get practical. I will walk you through your 3H chart and how to make it your head, your heart, and your hoo ha. That's the foundation of the 3H method. If you have your 3H chart right, you will be able to start choosing better. You'll be able to sort of take the guesswork out of vetting potential dates. And I'm going to make sure that you know the four most common mistakes that women make when it comes to defining what they want in a partner, because I see these mistakes over and over again. You think you want this, but you really want that. It's not always as clear as you might think. So we're going to get you crystal clear on what you want, because when you know what you want, it is much easier to attract it. We do not want to attract confusion. Okay, folks, don't miss next week. Now, you just listened to Love at Any Age, where I help women over 50 unlock love with real tools, bold truth, and zero fluff. If you are ready to clear the blocks and finally understand how to bring your head, your heart, and your hoo-ha into alignment, I have a free training for you. If you have not checked it out yet, lauriegerber.com/webinar. You can watch 3 secrets to finding and maintaining healthy love without repeated disappointments. I'm going to walk you through the 3H chart there too. You could wait for next week, or you could go right now and do your 3H chart. I'm going to walk you through the 3 date strategy, which is the other super powerful tool that I use with my clients to help them attract real, healthy, lasting love. And if this episode resonated with you, if you heard something for yourself and you think someone else might benefit, please share this podcast with someone else or many other people. Follow me, rate me, subscribe to me, and be that inspiration to others, because it is more fun to do this as a team. Dating is a team sport. So keep coming back, and I'll see you next week.